we all believe the same thing about the plant, and we think it can change culture.
The burning weed with its roots in hell. It is too late.
Removing the stigma, Gruene.
The message is out there. The flame is getting hotter.
And we're trying to turn that light on where we are in our community. What does this mean?
The Greenhouse Podcast.
All right. Are you ready? I gotta shoot this shit sucking in my gut. So like for 45 minutes, I'm just working my abs.
Just working. You know, there's the trick. If you stick your ass out, it makes it a little easier.
That's not as gangster. Like,
So CBD.
fuck,
Funny thing is, I wore a fanny pack.
we all got our methods.
I like your green hair.
Aldo, Caldo, the Comweedian. Thank you so much for being on the Greenhouse Podcast. The forces of Green Cross and Grow House combining in Central Texas.
Nice.
So glad to have you here.
I'm very excited to be here, and I've been following you guys for a while, so I'm fanboying out as well.
Like I said,
great connection.
The first time we met was Detroit Cannabis Cup, I believe.
It was.
And you were on the mic emceeing like you do, and you called us out, and you're just like, Grow House in the building. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that's how his voice sounded. It was,
I was just so thankful, like to know you, because we've been such fans, like watching you, MC and you're a comedian, and it's just great to have you. And fucking hey, here we are, man, in Texas.
Yes, here we are in Texas, right in a beautiful state.
I know.
I was born and raised here, so it's dear and close to my heart.
Yeah.
From a small town called Pecos, Texas.
Okay.
Pecos.
It's right here in the armpit.
If y'all don't know, this is the state of Texas.
Yeah, to me, it's like, right here in the armpit. But it's called Pecos, Texas, the world's first rodeo.
We're here.
The world's first rodeo. We also have Judge Roy Bean and all that greatness. I come from a law enforcement background.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so my dad was a judge.
You guys didn't forewarn me.
About this. That's why I was like, should we say this?
Who's your
Jeez, I
We're
know.
gonna talk code from now on.
Right.
But my dad was a judge in West Texas and Reeves County. My brothers are super cops. One's FBI, U.S. Marshal, K-9 trainer.
Wow.
And they all went right, so I went left.
Yeah. Are you the youngest?
I am the youngest. I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
Of three,
What is it like now? What's your relationship with them
I
now?
mean, it's all love now. It's just they're like, where's he at now? What's he doing now? And it's just I use music to get me out of where I was.
Right.
And I used it for anything. I was playing in church. I was playing for the Pope. I was playing, wherever I could just.
Tight.
Yeah, and I was just like, I just love music, and I loved sharing it with people.
Yeah.
And that kind of took me out, and I got a scholarship to a university to play sax. I did that, and then I moved down to Corpus and started playing Tejano music, and was like, I'm gonna teach myself keyboards, and I didn't know how to do any kind of producing or programming, and I couldn't afford like a keyboard, so I would go to like the music store and I would save the floppy disk. I would go buy floppy disk and put on the headphones and work on songs. And I would save the floppy disk. And so they would start knowing me, and they'd be like, you make songs? I'd be like, yeah. And,
On your shit.
yeah. So, but they were real cool about
That's
it. And
dope.
then I just got into touring with music and, the whole Quintanilla family and cumbias and all that in Corpus. And after that, I started playing bass, and I went and started playing bass for a boy group band called Menudo.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's real life.
Take your glasses off. Just take your glasses and set them down.
Although I was
No
actually, researching early on, and I found that out.
Yeah.
And it was just we hadn't had the chance at the Detroit Cup, and then we're always traveling around, but we miss each other. But I just want to tell you, dude, like I knew that.
Real quick. Okay, so Menudo is like it's been around since the 70s, right? And they just kind of put new people in.
Yes,
new people,
and
it's
new
fucking
blood.
huge.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean,
Yes.
sometimes we'd play for 10,000, 60,000, 80,000 people.
Man, how old were you during this?
18.
Dude.
Right out of high
Crushing
school,
it.
I just kind of got the gig, and I was just like, I guess
Yeah.
Everyone's like, we're staying home. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna leave the university, jump on the road, and be like, all right, I'm out.
The university was at home?
No, I was at Lubbock in Texas Tech, so I was there. I had just got there, and it was around. Or actually, I was around 19 or 20. Because I just jumped out. I didn't even have an ID and I didn't have a passport. And what happened was I was playing with
What happened was.
what happened was I was in El Paso playing with another
from
band.
Menudo.
Yeah.
And how I
that's all
got
you
that gig,
need.
I was in El Paso playing with another band called the Cumbia Kings. I was playing keyboards and sax for them.
Dude, awesome.
And I happened to have the bass on.
You said Quintanilla family.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just, Viva la Reina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Selena.
For sure.
I mean, that's that whole, you were a part of all of that.
I saw a lot of it, and that's just a different episode.
I know we can talk about
Different
Cumbia
podcast,
Kings, but I did want to just put a pin in that different
Right,
episode.
yeah.
Maybe an episode that might
On the road.
Yeah, on the road,
On the road.
and that
Maybe
might
we'll
go
do
to
a mobile
benefit
one over there.
something.
We'll get everyone blown.
It'll be great.
Right.
Maybe to benefit something. But anyway, Cumbia Kings.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But your brothers and your family, like, just you're obviously an open advocate. You use the plant, you medicate with the plant, and you're
didn't-
part of
You're
high
not smoking when
right.
you go
So
home,
so
right?
what's their are they what's their
I've been
acceptance?
around it for such a long time, but I never partaked until I was like 30 years old.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went on the road and I would see it, and I would do shows sometimes where they'd be like, all right, you'd go into the room and to get your pay after the gig, and it was weed, coke, money, and they would have their gun and be like, how do you want to get paid?
Yeah.
And I was like, cash.
Money.
I'm gonna go ahead and take this
A
cash.
little bit of this and a little bit of this. Okay.
Paid in
all right,
thirds.
But it was, I mean, cannabis has always been there with regards to like sometimes paying people with regards to gigs and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know,
But back then in Corpus, the weed probably wasn't.
I don't remember. Like, I mean, I remember being around it, but like I didn't really partake in it until
Right,
like
right.
I got
You
older.
weren't yeah.
And then from Corpus, I moved to Miami to play with Menudo. And
Damn,
yeah,
no
it
more
was
weed,
different.
just coke.
Yeah.
Cash,
No,
go
not
for
even
cash.
coke. Like I've never done coke. I
Yeah.
just can't see. I mean, I don't know. When I sneeze, I just feel like that hurts me.
no,
You
I
know?
can't.
Yeah.
And I also saw a friend of mine like had a bad trip and it started coming out of his eye and stuff. And I
Oh
was
shit!
just like,
Ugh.
Whoa, like blood or cocaine?
I don't know. I don't know. It was just like
Something.
He's like,
An indeterminate substance.
Yeah.
This should not have been coming out your eye.
You're like, I was
Right.
running.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what he was sniffing. Maybe a line of ants.
Oh god.
But
So how did you find cannabis?
how did I find cannabis?
Partaking
Partaking.
in cannabis.
I guess
Peer
after.
pressure?
No, I was actually in an accident, and then instead of going on pain medications, and I actually
Sweet.
and learning about
Therapeutic.
pharmaceuticals,
Yeah,
Andrix
yeah,
pharmaceuticals, and various lovastatin and whatnot. I was just like, you know what? Let me try this, and lo and behold, it helped me out. And one of my best friends who worked at a pharmaceutical company, she's from Honduras, Roxy. Yeah. Anyway, shout out to Roxy. Yeah, shout out to Roxy. She was one of the first ones that was like, you know what? And she took me to go see her grandma, which was like curandera, which she would say cura, or like
shit,
curance, like you cure yourself, but not with the pills, with this plant. You know? And then it started kicking off memories of my
Marijuana.
grandma, because my grandma had alcohol and cannabis
Yeah.
in it,
Uh-huh.
and
That
she would
shit
use
goes
it for
way
her
back.
arthritis.
Way back.
Yeah, so it started,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, like I always grew up seeing it, I just never like. But
Thought of it. Yeah.
thought of it.
But she
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
alcohol, like alcohol, rubbing alcohol?
It was rubbing alcohol, and then they should put a whole stick of
Stems
cannabis
in,
in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Inside there and use that for.
I
And
so I have
people
a
still
question.
do it to this day.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
How do you feel about the word marijuana, personally?
I believe it's beautiful. I like to say it a lot because I don't know. It feels, I don't know, sexy.
Yeah.
It feels like
Yeah.
I know it comes from Mexico and the whole. But I don't know. I just marijuana. I like to say it different way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a sexy.
It's a good word to say, and
Yeah.
the
Good
more
word
you
to
say
say.
it, I think the more you remove the
I like
stigma
that.
a little bit, right? You just beat them up with the word.
We learned
Yeah.
we learned recently, like, obviously there's been a big movement to, just in our vernacular use the word cannabis instead of marijuana because of the racism that's associated with it from the Reefer Madness. But the hit, and a lot of people kind of just say like, oh, Reefer Madness was where they started using that word. But we learned recently that the history goes back to
Way back.
Way
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And
indigenous people.
So fun fact. One of my biggest pet peeves is people use the word cannabis in lieu of marijuana, and then they still keep hemp on the side. The fact is, cannabis is the genius of plant. Marijuana and hemp are both cannabis plants.
Right.
Thank
So-
you.
But the marijuana
One-
being the one that has THC in it,
Correct.
hemp being the one that's not THC.
Low in THC.
Yeah, THC
Correct,
dominant.
correct.
Right. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. You know, it's, as Patrick said, we did recently learn this, and not that, I mean, we knew that it was steeped in something, but, you know, of course we just want to, you know, as white people, you know, we don't want to be, I don't want to use a racist term. If it's possibly racist, then fuck it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even trying to.
White people might
Think.
be racist.
Right.
Well, dude, that's what I. Yeah, well, that's what I. Well, listen, no, I mean, the term can any other.
Right.
But
And you know, it
what?
feels
If
a
you
bit
think
like
about it,
whitewashing.
but actually,
Right.
I think
Don't
the
give me
people
that.
and the individual give power to words.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You know,
That's
what
what
you
I'm
Yes.
say.
saying.
It's
Yeah.
just like, you know,
Oh,
what?
dude, when you
Yeah.
said it's sexy, I'm like, oh yeah, it is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
sexy. No, that's absolutely right. You know, our education never ends. We're constantly
Constant.
learning, and it's hard. You know,
Every day.
when you think you know something, and it's just, oh no, you have to be vulnerable, and you have to stay, just I think, on this fun journey.
Be open.
You got to stay aware. You got to be open, and you got to be able to read people. But you do have to be educated because,
Have to.
like,
Oh.
what you're going to run into is a lot of people who, if you say marijuana, they're going to be like, "That's racist," and they're going to like call you out for it. And it's like, yes,
There's a lot of ignorance.
Very
There's a
aware.
lot of
I'm very
ignorance.
aware of all of it, and I'm walking the finest line that I can
Right,
of
right.
understanding.
Being a comedian, I tend to lean into the ignorant part of things on purpose.
Right.
So I'm like, wait a minute, we're not CBD.
And then they cheer with you. They're like,
Yeah.
What is THCA? What?
right. What is that?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
have you been up to lately? What's going on in your comedy world? Like,
I have not been doing comedy so much because I've been doing the high times gigs.
You're living it.
I'm living it.
I mean,
You're
but you
freaking
bring
living
the
it.
But
fun.
I'm building new material because I recently went to Jamaica and connected with some legendary Jamaican reggae musicians.
Amazing.
I recorded with Marley, recorded like all the heavy hitters. So I went there with my melodica, jammed out with them, had a couple of sessions for like 2 days. Missed my appointments with High Times.
Sorry.
Okay, it's not as if those fools never missed an appointment.
Right.
Research.
I was doing
You were
research.
in the
Right.
field.
Right.
Okay.
So I was there hanging with the Rastas, learning from the
Beautiful.
culture. And yeah, I'm going back, actually recording with them. And yeah,
Where can we find what you did in Jamaica?
I
Where can
haven't
people
posted
find
it,
it?
but I need an editor. That's what I need.
Everybody.
I have quite a few.
Everybody
I have
needs
so
that.
much
I
footage.
know, yeah.
What's lucky is I have 2 daughters, right? And one of them just recently turned 18, and she's like, "Dad, I want to go into video editing." I was like, "Come with me to
Perfect.
NAM."
Yeah.
Let's go to LA.
Yes, here's the program. It's
Yeah,
called
so
Adobe.
from Jamaica, I went straight to NAM with her, and I picked her up. I was like, "Hey, we're going to NAM," and I started introducing her to my friends in
Yeah.
the audio video world, and she's excited. So.
Yeah.
Nice,
That's tight.
good.
Yeah.
You
It's
gotta
nice to build with
teach them
family.
young.
Oh, for
Right.
sure.
And you know, she also right now she's 18, and she's like, her eyes are just opening, but she will be able to help you. Continue to shape, who you are if this is what she's into.
Right,
Because
right.
that's really the hard part about finding an editor.
Exactly.
It's not that they don't exist. They exist. It's,
do.
Do they get you? Do they understand your essence? Can they
Yeah.
bring out the best in you?
And there's nothing like
Dude.
family working together on some sort of project, because it's an in-house editor that knows you from
Yeah.
the time of existence.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you can mold that, I
Yeah.
tried with my son, but he's too busy, but
Yeah.
He's too busy
Well, I mean,
being his
no,
own guy.
but
he wants
it's
to
about.
be
It's
his
not.
own
It's not
dude.
as if it's a skill that you can just pick up at anybody.
no,
pick up.
that's
It's
what
you
I'm
have to
saying.
want
You can-
to, and if she
right.
wants to, that's fucking.
Well, I
blessing.
mean, I'm not trying to reverse, but I also know how to edit.
Right.
But there's just something about I felt narcissistic when I'm listening to myself or seeing myself. I'm just like,
yeah.
you know, I'd rather make real time fun right now.
Right,
Like,
Yes.
I don't know. That's just.
Well, it's too
Staring
It
in
feels
your own
weird,
eyes
It's
for
just like
hours and
it's like
hours.
a mind fucking
Yeah.
away. I'm
Yeah.
like, no.
It's just too much, and it's also that time that you're spending looking through your authentic is keeping you away from doing
Building
more
the-
of
right,
that,
right,
you know.
right,
And when you
yeah.
find those people who can fucking bring out the best in you, we have an amazing editor. He's like
Yeah.
family, and he makes fun of us all the time, and it's just so funny, and you forget
need
that you're
that.
laughing
Yeah,
at yourself.
exactly.
Have
It's
that.
good, right?
And I
It's
mean,
just
and
good.
I love for my editors make money.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah.
That's the key.
Right.
They all win, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
If you're able to pay them and to
And if
to
she's
build
my
that
daughter,
together,
I can,
Oh, dude.
you know
Yeah,
what?
here you
Start
go.
building
You
your own
know, well, you
empire.
walk her in, you
Yeah.
got some
Yeah.
Coke, you got some weed, and you go, sir, what's
This
the
is the
decision?
test.
You know what you're getting paid. Yeah, this is the test.
This is the test.
My daughter should be like,
Amazing.
"What kind of gun is that?"
Oh, God,
double-barrel
Generation
shotgun.
Z. Scary.
Oh, scary. Super scary. All of them.
Oh, man. You know, we're parents as well.
Yeah,
We have a 14-year-old.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do
and-
too.
Yeah.
Marley. Her name's Marley.
Marley, oh my God.
Yeah.
Veronica and Marley.
It's amazing.
It's so great. It's
That's why I was running a little late because she was like, "Hey, I gotta go to school." And I was like, "School
What? On a
that?
Monday?
on a Monday?
what? I know.
All right, let's do this."
They still make you do that?
I drop you off.
Right.
Every morning I'm like, oh, I love you. I'm sorry, babe. You gotta do
Yeah,
this.
you gotta punch in. You gotta
Yeah,
get that.
clock
You
in,
do.
clock
You
gotta get
in,
used
clock
to it.
out.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you know,
Inform.
and see what people are like, and just remember that you're in the zoo, jungle.
Yeah.
You're not gonna die, but
Good analogy.
I mean, you are.
It is.
Just do your thing.
Being a teenager in today's Texas, like I think it's a little bit better than we were. Like we saw a lot of things growing up that were, sad, racist, homophobic. But I think it's changing. I think
so too.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
It's still good old Texas, though.
It's still-
you get
yeah, there's still
you
not
get a
that
couple
heat.
minutes outside of town, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of old,
Old way of thinking.
Yeah.
A lot of
you're right.
cold eyes.
especially
cold eyes.
getting.
Cold
I'm born and
eyes.
raised in Los Angeles, so coming from that melting pot to here, it's still it's changed. I got here in '98. It's changing dramatically, but again, you drive through the hill country,
doubt.
or you stop at the wrong gas station, or it's still good old Texas,
Right.
in a lot of places.
Yeah.
It is.
Deeply entrenched in these thought patterns that are so just counterproductive to this community, to their own community,
right.
to their own hearts, and their own even like domestic situations. Could you imagine if more people smoked weed than drank in Texas?
Yeah.
You know,
What does
could
that
you
world look
imagine
like?
what that world looks
It's
like?
gonna look amazing.
People
Right.
would
Yeah.
still get down on the dance halls. We would still have all of the greatest things. We would
Right.
probably have to get a few more cows, okay? Because barbecue intake
Right,
would be
we'll
up
kick
with
up,
the
yeah,
munchies.
Yeah, a lot of
Kick up
people
a
will be
notch.
eating.
So we have to prepare for munchies. No, but it's just it just slows down the pace of life, and we're not talking like, oh man, this Prima Bud from Cali. We're talking 11% THC, 12% THC, 13, 14.
Start easy.
Yeah,
Ease
man.
into it.
It's fine. It's a medicine that helps you step out of yourself. So
There's nothing worse than grandma taking a fat dab, and that's her first experience.
Right.
of
No.
cannabis.
And then
has
Like,
it, yeah.
that's game over, right?
then
All
why
of
would
it-
anybody
sponsored.
do that to grandma?
It happens.
It happens.
Grandma, do this.
There's only one dab and granny,
No,
okay?
only
That slot's
one.
been filled.
Well,
OG
there's
for
actually a
sure.
red-eyed granny, which is
Really?
she's really fun.
Really? I
Yeah.
have to follow her.
Yeah, red-eyed granny. she's
Red Eye
pretty
Granny. I mean, that's cool, right? It's
Yeah,
just
oh,
like
fuck yeah.
it's cannabis is its culture in and to itself,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you don't have to be about it to enjoy the plant and enjoy
Right.
the medical benefits. But it's definitely an interesting place to go down a rabbit hole if you're at the office one
Yeah,
day.
and you just
doing
happen to hit
LinkedIn,
the.
follow Grow House Media, and then I just left just a few breadcrumbs. Got to keep it profesh.
Yeah.
But it is a fun culture that I think we kind of live and work in.
Where do you see like weed going in Texas? What's your
Well, I see it becoming legal, right? But I just kind of feel like, actually, they just need to legalize everything. You know what? Everything's legal.
Somebody who legalized mushrooms today or yesterday.
was it Washington? Or
Oh,
what?
maybe Washington.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah.
So there's another state now. So there's
Yeah.
3
That's great.
legal psilocybin states.
Oh, Santa Cruz legalized it.
That's
So, yeah, they legalized it recently.
Nice.
I agree. And what's so funny
So-
is Texans are so libertarian, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like they can be so like, freedom for all and get off my land and let me be me and
Yes.
piss off government. But it's like
On the flip side.
But yeah, they're like this plant is.
flip side,
we're gonna
fuck
take
this
the law.
plant.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, or drugs.
How is a
we're gonna
Texan
be
afraid of a
hard-
plant?
Well,
How is an American, sorry to cut you off, afraid of the plant? Like that, the stigma. Reagan literally was on the television saying marijuana is the #1 killer in the U.S. It's killing our kids. Like
It is the #1
Reagan?
killer, but it's
Ronald
the
Reagan,
government
yeah.
He
killing.
was the actor, right?
yeah, the actor,
Yeah.
present actor.
Accident.
He was the
Just
accident.
asking.
How
That's
history
what he
repeats.
says.
Yeah.
Acting.
Yeah.
Aren't they all?
Right.
So, I don't know.
Texas, I think it has a long way to go, but I also think just knowing some of the law enforcement that I know, 'cause I do back the blue.
Yes.
For me, blue lives matter. Yeah. My family, like my brothers and my
Right.
uncles,
Yes.
are DPS. Like they're all rolled deep in.
Yeah,
you know. So I've always backed, and they're always like,
They have to give us their names, so
Yeah.
if we ever need to name
Stay
drop
away
on the
from-
side of the
I'm
road.
I'll say which counties to stay away from.
Yeah.
But talking to them, they see me as that guy that's
Right.
pushing and doing the movement, but they also like, we're tired of the tickets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're tired of the waste that and then they want us to test it, and we don't have money to be testing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit's a
Hemp,
couple
or-
$100,
Yeah, and they're
$300
like,
per.
we just it's like there's bigger fish to fry.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm just like, yeah,
Everybody sees it.
hit it now.
So hit this shit.
Take a tote.
Right. And
For
I was
real.
just like, you know what? There's a prison that in a certain area that was on the, may have been closed. And I was like, we could do like what Marley's did. Just buy a prison, make it a
Yes.
girl
Grow it.
house, and
Yes.
just, employ all you guys.
Yes.
The
Have
whole
you been
town,
to
the
Have you
whole
been to that
town.
grow?
I
in
have not.
Jamaica?
I have not.
Neither have we. Let's just
We need
put
to
it
do
out
a
in the
pod
universe.
from there.
We
Yeah,
want
it's
to
gonna
know,
be
yeah,
tight as fuck.
absolutely. Just spend some time there.
And he's
like-
employing what, like 4,000 local or 2,000, something like that. Like he's employing a shitload of people. It's a huge operation.
Yeah, so Damian Marley bought an abandoned prison and turned it into a grow.
Which was basically in an abandoned town
Yeah.
that was dying off type of thing, and brought the whole local economy
Yeah.
back.
That is
There's
beautiful.
big problems though in Jamaica right now. Though, real talk, like it's it's not a huge country, and Kingston in that area is very fucking dangerous place to be as a human being. Like there's
even
gang
Montego
warfare.
Bay was under martial law when we
Yeah.
were there. Like it's just it's not.
It's
a
like
fun
no
place.
problem, respect every time. It's like, no, we get that. It's
Right,
almost like
right.
I'm not afraid of myself.
Yeah.
It's just like, let's, shine a light on that. What the fuck's going on? It's really,
Why isn't it under control?
Yeah, Jamaicans are beautiful people. It's
I
a
love
proud
it.
country.
It's the-
I didn't experience that only because like I said, I went with music, and it's just
You're
like,
connected.
Yeah.
well,
We didn't experience it, it's just in
I
the
didn't know
news.
anybody. I
Right,
just didn't
right.
know any
Yeah.
better. I jumped on the Knutsford, and I just jumped on a bus, and
Yeah.
I'm going to Kingston. And I went
Yeah.
to Kingston, and I got into my Airbnb, and I was like, all right, cool. Let's walk to the Bob Marley Museum and jam. So I walked, and I was like during the
Amazing.
day, and then from there they had different tour guides were like, hey, you're a musician? Come with me. And then I was like, all right, and then let's see you jam. And then I jammed in the
what a
back with them.
journey.
And then I was like, all right, cool. And then they started dropping names, and then I dropped names, and they're like, come with me. So then I went, and then it was like I met all these guys in
That's tight
one
as fuck.
spot.
Yeah.
And all the like legendary musicians would go there. So I didn't even have to go anywhere. I just hung out there, smoked, learned about the chalice. We learned about different fruits and
Yes,
trees.
the
Chalice.
Yeah,
we
I
talked
got
about that a
blazed.
couple episodes.
I love the chalice.
You realize that the
That's
chalice? Did you
beautiful.
smoke a water chalice or
Both. All
all
of
of
the
them?
above.
Yeah.
So they
you went full chalice.
I went
Was
full chalice.
that your first
Full chalice.
experience?
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
mine too. So they broke down the history of it. I was telling the group here that the one I smoked was like like the heat was above the flower and then into the water. And this is 100-year-old technology,
Yeah,
right? It goes
yeah.
way back. But they discovered that by having the heat above it instead of on it, it melts off the terpene. So the
Yeah.
first 10, 15 hits are all terpene. Then the leaf starts to decarb and you get the smoke. But we're just now learning in the States the importance of the terps and how they direct everything, take you where you want to go. And these dudes figured it out with coconuts and bamboo. And it's crazy.
I have some video. I think I posted on my Comweedian where I hit the chalice with some of the legendary like chalice hitters that they made their own chalice.
Yeah,
there, with Augustus Pablo,
It's a
who was
huge
a famous.
part.
He was like the king of the chalice, and he was also a melodica player. He's passed away, but so I went over there to learn about the record shop, the rockers movement, the reggae, and they took me to the dub club and. Yeah, that's where I really learned about the challenge. And then I was up at the dub club in the mountains in Kingston, overseeing Kingston, just hitting the challenge with all the Rastas. Like, holy
Spiritual as fuck,
yeah,
right?
spiritual.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, man, I see it, I feel it, you know.
When you were at that
wow.
moment, and you had, because you'd gone there with no plan, right? And you get to that moment, like, how much of it was like, oh yeah, of course, this is like what cannabis does? Like, you actually weren't that surprised, or were you totally just like, dude, how did this happen?
I've always felt like with music and cannabis, it just seems to always bring the right people together.
It's a community thing,
it's
right?
a community and
bonding
love. And
experience,
if they have music in their heart, then they have love in their heart.
Right,
If they
right.
have cannabis, it's like, you know, it's about feeling good and that meditation, and, you know, that euphoric, you know.
energy, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a different.
You went by
feel.
yourself?
That's
I
beautiful.
went by myself. Yeah, I went by
Man,
myself,
brave-
and then I met
brave
up with
man.
Uncle Stoner over there.
Oh, nice.
So Uncle Stoner was out there. He lives out there in the grill, and I
Oh,
went and
nice.
hung out with him. He took me around to various grows and different
yeah.
farms, and then I went to.
You're
Kingston
doing
by
big
myself.
things out there on the legal side. How long ago was this that you went?
I'm in about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks.
Oh,
ago.
just recent.
Right,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I go
yeah.
on Sunday, so I fly back out there on Sunday.
Sweet.
So I'm excited
You're
about
gonna
that.
record?
Yeah, re-record
Oh, my
and go out there and
gosh.
yeah.
Whoa, that's really awesome to hear. I love hearing that. You know, it's like, you know, you're reading, you only get one side of the story.
Yeah,
And
you always
there's
hear
that
about the
heart.
bad stuff because they're always like, oh, well, the Jamaicans are hustling. But you know what?
Yeah.
Like, we all
Who isn't
hustle.
hustling?
No, it's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
it's
like this
hustle.
gang
You're
warfare.
not
I'm like,
hustling, you're
what are
not
the
living.
gangs? Why? Yeah, why?
Yeah.
What are we? You know, it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, this
One
is
thing I did learn that I told him I was from Texas. I was from America. The prices of things were
Oh,
3
yeah.
times.
Oh, yeah.
Once I was like, hey, yo soy de Mexico. But it was like, oh. You know what I mean? Like, come on. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, give it to him. So, yeah, and I was just like, and it reminded me of Mexico. Monterrey
Yeah.
reminded
Oh,
me
yeah,
of a lot
yeah.
of places driving around. Be like, hey, this looks like my barrio from
Right,
Mexico. Like, yeah. So they connected with me and they're like, yeah, come on, man.
That's tough.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Dude, that is so tight.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to hear what you create.
Yeah,
gonna be
I'll
inspired.
definitely post them and share it some.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
let
I'm
us know
hoping
we can
maybe
help.
for a live stream, you know, or two, so we can like, you know, kind of feel it, you know.
Yeah, I'll bring some.
I mean, I know
musicians over.
Wi-Fi is not always there. It's not always great, though. I have to remember that. It is very much.
Yeah.
So, how did you get linked up with High Times? We're in Texas, and that's something we get asked all the time. And it's really, we just produced a show and got it on their platform. But like, you're from Texas. How did you get linked up with High Times, and where have those journeys taken you?
How did I get linked in? I was in Las Vegas with 3 friends of mine, and we had just driven in, and a friend of ours had called and said, "Hey, they need golf cart drivers for this cannabis cup in California. Can y'all do it?" And I was
This is how all great stories start.
right. And so my
A
buddy,
phone call requesting.
yeah, we had just driven into
Golf
Vegas,
cart
about to have a
Some
good weekend,
random
and they said,
task.
y'all want to go to the Cannabis Cup? And I was like,
On.
Never
let's
turned-
go. So we all just from Vegas, we got there, took a shower, and then we just booked it straight to the Cannabis Cup. And to believe it or not, it was the 420 huge cup. It was the big one.
I believe
Right.
it.
We found our parking, pulled in. We walked in there, and they said, "Hey, how you doing? What's your name? Aldo. Okay, cool. Here are your keys. Here are your keys." They just handed us keys. Go bring people in. So we didn't know anything. Like the people they didn't even know how to turn on a golf cart.
Yeah. We didn't put it in reverse. Like, forget about it.
It was just like the cup had already started, so they needed to get all the vendors in. They needed to bring. So then we jumped on the golf carts, followed the trail, and then the first thing I pulled up is into a van. They opened up the doors, and it was just nothing but cannabis trees. Just pulling them out and putting them in the golf cart. And I remember freaking out like, holy shit. And I took a selfie with the plant. It was all on my Snapchat. Like, holy shit. I'm here. Like,
Yeah. I made it.
yeah,
I made
and
it.
I just had to drive the golf cart slow, bring them into their booths, and
Right,
help them
right.
unload, and they would get us high dabs. I didn't know anything about dabs, and they're like, "Here, come
Damn.
hit this," and I'd be like, "All right," and I didn't know anything then, and I took my melodica with me, so it was so many. There was
It
like,
goes everywhere.
yeah, I would take it with me because
I'm so
it would be
honored
strapped.
that it's
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I'm honored that it's here.
And it would get packed. So the cups were really packed. And I was driving the golf cart and I couldn't get people out of the way. So I would go like that. And people would just start moving, start laughing. And then I would play like a little tune to make them laugh, And then they're like, all right, this guy's cool. And they would start getting me on, Instagram and whatnot.
right.
And that's how they're like, this golf cart driver drives around
That's
with this
crazy,
melodica.
yeah.
Bringing in all the
Who's
farmers.
the keyboard golfer?
That's it.
Bring them to me.
Bring it to me.
I need him in my office.
And then I guess one of the stage guys that was doing the giveaways, Cookie, I love him. He lost his voice at a cup, and they said, "Hey, Aldo can do some giveaway. Get him up on the mic." So then they're like, "Hey, do you know how to talk on the mic?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I know a little couple of things." And like, "Here, do a giveaway." And I'm like, "If you love sativa, make some noise! If you can hear my voice and you like free shit, get over here right now. Get over, yeah, you." And I'm real aware, like with the crowd, so I always watch where people are walking, and that's how I can
have
poke,
to.
you know,
Yeah.
So I'll call people. I'm like, "Come on up here," you know, and I like to do giveaways, and because I'm, you know, from Texas, I can't come home with any of it.
Right,
so
Right.
Take some of this.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. You know, Patrick just brought that story up, and you know, you just infuse the place with energy. Wherever you are, even when our paths don't cross, it's like, oh yeah, I can feel it. I can feel Comweedians in the building. You know, just people are excited. You know, you bring a very just breath of fresh air, I think, to the whole like cannabis culture. You know, as the mainstream sees it. You know, truly, because that's where Patrick and I are coming from. And when you called us out, we were like, fuck yeah. We're connecting with the right people. The right people being the people that were like, that brought us to the culture in the first place.
Right.
You know, so.
I mean, it was a good story. It's a good story.
Yeah,
and I
man.
love cannabis. I love, you know, performing. I love getting people together, and I love people to have a good time. And if you need me to say something in front of your people, you know, for a shout out to this, a shout out, just give me the script and I'll just say it. Let's have a good time, you know?
Yeah,
Dude,
totally.
And you rock it so well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you do.
So what's your next big event?
We have the Hemp Cup here in Austin for South by Southwest. Nice. So anybody who wants to get a booth or any kind of submissions for hemp and CBD, get at me, Aldo at High Times.
Hey, so what exactly will the Hemp Cup be? And what are the dates?
The dates are March 20th, 21st, and it's going to be at the venue downtown Austin during South by Southwest. And it's going to be a regular cup, but with hemp-derived products. And which is really cool is that I'm seeing like a lot of pet submissions. So, you know, Austin's real big about pets and, you know, animals and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing, you know, horse and, you know, dog treats and CBD, which is really cool. You know,
Are there going to be horse judges?
Yeah, there's got to be.
well, you have to have the animal to be able to test it. But
Right.
apparently, some of these people are like, you know what? Like, I met a guy at the Texas Hemp Con, and he was like, no, I put this product, you know, it was like a syringe. He was like, no, I'll eat it. And he goes,
Oh,
he just
shit.
shoves it in his mouth. And I was like, cool, I'll try some. And
How did you feel?
You know what? I had so many different CBD varieties. I couldn't tell them that right there. I was just like, I guess I'll tell you in 30 minutes or so.
Bye. Hey, I feel really. I'm at my homeostasis.
Right.
I have
can
no more
feel
aches
it.
and pains in my ankles, my knees, my joints.
My hooves.
Elbows.
My hooves. I tell you what, I
coat
work
is
heels.
shiny.
Name.
My coat is shinier. Thanks.
So what are you not seeing
is
on the
amazing.
submission side? Like, is there a lot of flour, a lot of concentrates?
There is
smokables?
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hemp, so it can come from out of state.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Right. But you know, a lot of Texas is being
So it's
represented.
just being held in Texas. It's not Texas specific.
It's actually not
products.
Texas specific, but it's nationwide.
Yeah.
But it's held here in Texas.
Got it.
That's why it's the High Times
man.
Hemp Cup.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna have some Okies come down.
Oh, yeah,
oh,
sure,
you
sure.
know
I
it.
love
They
the
show up.
Toklahomies.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I got down with the Smoklahomies over there. Yeah, and you know what it is? Maybe it's the red dirt or whatever it is, but I told them many, many times, like, they can, they
can grow.
They can grow.
Yeah.
Oh, they've been growing for
Oh, wow.
generations. They're,
Yeah.
they're not new to growing shit.
Yeah.
No,
There's
they're
quite a
definitely
few
not.
good ones there. I know that's for sure.
Very,
Helix
very,
extracts.
very high THC.
Yes.
I mean, it's. We were told that anything below like a 24 is thrown out. Like it's just not. Wow. Because the market is
Right.
it's kind of a gold rush, right?
The craziest part is the middle of the country is the pickiest fucking smokers of the whole country.
Right.
Like you go to the West Coast and they're like OG all day, right? Like LA, OG.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't even want to stray from it. You go to New York,
Sunset
diesel.
Sherbet.
Yes.
You come to Texas, Oklahoma, they're like sour diesel. I had that. If you got anything else, OG. No, come on, like that's not. Like, I already had that. Give me something new. They just want new and better and better and better.
All
So
the
it's a
patients
weird.
I
That's
know
very
in
cool.
Texas are like,
love that.
get what you get and don't throw a fit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Josh, wait. Are you referring to hemp flower?
No.
No, you're
No,
not.
no,
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay, discerning.
weed.
Oh no, we're
Weed,
talking about
weed.
Smoklahomans. But in Texas, it's like, oh my gosh, there aren't bugs crawling on it. I'll smoke it.
What do you think? I mean, you think there's a gap in the market for Texas to sort of develop its own sort of, we don't, like with what we like
Understanding.
Texas
Oh,
Texas
yes.
green.
Yeah. Who's to say? Like, Texas is such a sheer mass of people and land that you don't know what you're going to get on the other side of town, let alone in the next town over or
And
the
just
next
because it's
city.
illegal doesn't mean it's happening. Because I know quite a few
I know
growers
it's
here that
happening. I know it's
that
happening.
are
Yeah,
killing
of
it.
course.
And some are up in the mountains, some are down in the valley,
Yeah.
some are,
Some are in the city, the heart of the city.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It is, and it's just crazy that the government is standing between the plant and us,
And it's people.
and it's people, right? Yeah, the ability to give jobs and create more wellness and just.
I mean,
bring people together.
California is a 30-year-old legal market. The laws are so shitty there that the black market, aka legacy market, just thrives. Like, it's bigger today than it was when I left in the 90s. It's huge. That's just an example of how the local municipalities, at any level, can get in the mix, and they don't understand the process. They just fuck up the whole thing.
No.
The whole thing.
They continue to fuck up the whole thing, and I'm wondering if they've ever fucking smoked with the
yeah.
grower. Like the most recent tax increase, it's just crippling these farmers. It's just like what in the fuck? Like, what in the literal fuck? Because you depend on these men and women to grow this crop, but slowly but surely, I believe, you mentioned either it was this podcast, the last one, I don't remember, I was probably high, but really, you mentioned the patents that the U.S. government has.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so, that is maybe what's happening.
Yeah.
Let's keep the people away from the plant even more by crippling the farmers who could very well support their families, make a goddamn good living. And by supporting their community.
The numbers are stupid, right? But the whole system's set up for failure.
It is.
Like,
it is.
all of the regulations that are put into play just don't make sense to the plant, right? Like, you can't control a plant to grow to an exact percent or under without failure. Like, there's going to be huge failure all over the place. So farmers, who we were talking about a little while ago, who have been generational farmers, right? 3 generations, 5 generations, they can grow the shit out of corn. But you put hemp on their land and they're like, I'm going to make a shitload of money, and then it goes hot and they have to burn it.
Right.
What do you do with a hemp crop that's 0.5 instead of 0.3?
Yeah.
The weed smokers don't
Mix
want
stuff.
it because
No.
it ain't gonna
No.
get high or extract, right?
Make stuff
and
out
get
of it.
rid
You gotta
of
make
it,
stuff out of it.
remediate
Clothes,
the THC.
yes.
Clothes, fibers,
Well, it's a different plant.
Plastic.
It's a different plant. That's the
right.
thing. You grow the fiber plant for clothes and all that, or the thing is right now everything is 100% of the market is high cannabinoid content plants, right?
I think I just heard a fun fact. Can we back up?
Fun fact.
Okay, so the hemp plant, there are two we're talking about 2 different kinds of hemp plants.
Yeah.
The kind that you...
So there's a hemp that you grow for fiber and grain, tall, stringy, bamboo looking. It's what they grow in China. That they rip out the long fibers, 10-foot fibers, and make rope, clothes, all of that out of that product. Super low in cannabinoid content.
Yeah.
And you grow the high cannabinoid content plants, look just like marijuana. They're just low in THC. They've been crossbred to have minimal THC content. That is all for smokable or extraction made products. So everything you see on the market in the CBD industry, oils, topicals, smokables, all of that comes from the high cannabinoid content plant. So Oregon has 60,000 registered acres to grow hemp on right now. 100% of that is high cannabinoid content. Nobody's growing fiber. The fiber extraction facilities don't exist in the U.S. That infrastructure, once again, isn't there. So this thing in Lubbock is huge. This is one of the first fiber extraction facilities, and it's the largest in the nation.
Do you want your textiles? We will have our textiles.
We're going to have Texas
By
textiles.
Grow House Textile Collection 2023.
Coming.
Yeah, coming soon.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. They have to build the plant first, but it's happening. It's happening. No, fascinating. And I'm just so glad that you're able to articulate that. It's so important for people just to see this plant, you know, we call it cannabis, that's hemp and marijuana, right? And it's all of its varied uses from mental health to fucking, you know,
Socks
concrete and socks.
Concrete's fun fact.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Fun fact. Hempcrete. We've all heard of hempcrete. They're 10 times stronger than concrete, 10 times lighter than concrete.
10.
It scrubs the air, antifungal,
Wow.
antibacterial. Why isn't it in mass production? But, you know, once we get to this point where there's hemp sheetrock, hemp rubber, hemp plastic, and it's affordable, we're talking about a lot of industries that lose a lot of money that are currently pitching into this legislation that's fucking up the game, if you will, through their laws and regulations. So it's one big conspiracy.
Imagine the hemp art.
Conspiracy.
All the art that's going to be made out of hemp.
Right. Just fabrication or anything.
Even instruments. I saw one guy that was building his guitar amps, his guitar, all out of hemp. Yeah.
Whoa. That's gangster.
Yeah. And it was like on par. It's like, what the fuck?
So what you're saying is the guitar industry may also be lobbying against the hemp industry.
Hemp strings,
conspiracies.
hemp guitar strings, hemp. Yeah.
It's you know.
We already know this. The melodica is made out of plastic.
It
right?
is, but it can be made out of hemp.
Hemp plastic.
Definitely. Yeah,
But this one will never be replaced.
This one, I have quite a few, but this one. This one.
You thought this was his one?
Yeah, this is just one.
He takes this shit around the world.
I did. I was like, oh, the Rastas.
He burns through them about every 3 minutes.
Yeah, you know, I like to have a variety. You know,
That's good. You have to.
They do. They do.
It's
really?
foolish of me to think you only had one, okay? You're a professional here.
But I do have my roadworthy one.
Right,
Just,
right.
you know, keep in the car.
in the-
You're the
Yeah,
special, the special greenhouse podcast one,
for sure,
right?
for
That
sure.
is
I need to get that greenhouse sticker on here.
hell yeah. You know
It
what?
might
I
happen
have it.
today. It might happen today.
That's right.
Hey,
It might happen.
before we close out, and hopefully we can style with some music. Please tell our audience where they can find you and what you got going, brother.
All right, yeah. So I have Instagram. I do Comweedian. It's like Comedian, but weed. And
I see what you did.
That was the one that a friend of mine set up for me, and was just like, you need to start throwing your cannabis stuff on that. And then I have Aldo Caldo Moves, which is another one where I just kind of do my music. I just
like that
do
one.
various Star Wars, whatever it is. It's always very random wherever I go, and so
Yeah.
I just kind of post it up. And Facebook and all that good stuff. And right on. Could always
Easy
get
to
at me.
find. You're easy to find.
Yeah, you know.
And then you'll be hosting the Cannabis Cup, or
Right.
the High Times.
The date.
Right.
What are the dates for that?
March 20th and 21st.
Okay.
And it's the Hemp House. And we're looking forward to that. It's quite a few, entries already coming in.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, I did not see this coming.
So exciting. So how does
huge
can
industry.
somebody enter? Do they just get in touch with you directly?
Sure, they can get in touch with me,
Okay,
Aldo
cool.
at High Times, and shoot me an email and be
Got an
like, hey.
official email address, y'all. So
And companies, all that good stuff. If you're growing, you want, you have all your COA and all the stuff good stuff behind you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's
talk.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's get you in there and represented. I really want to represent Texas.
Hell yeah.
yes,
Various growers.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Education, Texas.
Can't wait for
like-
that day.
Yeah.
Sure.
that's why we're here.
To Texas.
To Texas.
Aldo, thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank
God.
you.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna just grab this.
Just real soft. Real quick.
Okay, sorry.
Behind your back.
Maybe I'll just take this then, because I don't think I can control myself with the tambourine.
Here we are at the Grow House, Texas. Green Records. Y'all follow them online. Grow House, Texas. Vamos a hacerlo bien aquí en Texas, con mis amigos aquí en Grow House, Texas. Ay, 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 ay. Grow House, everybody. Grow House. The Grow House.
Green Cross,
Grow House.
Green Cross,
Grow House.
Green Cross,
Grow House.
Green Cross,
Grow House. Ay, 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 ay. Prendelo, marihuana. Grow House. Grow House. Marijuana. Grow House. Marijuana. Grow House. Marijuana. Grow House. Ay, 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 ay. Here we are at the Grow House.
Grow house.
better be following them. Give them a 5-star review.
We need to not forget our crazy frame.
Hey, anybody else we need to shout out? Chris, Will, all the good people in the back. The beautiful green-haired girl back there. We love you, Courtney. And we love cannabis. We love